Hello, White Sox fans. I recently asked you to put on your general manager's hat and propose some trade ideas, and you guys did not disappoint. I got quite a few, and we are going to go through them today. Hopefully, I'm not going to be too critical of them. Some of them were really good, I think, as is. Some needed a little bit more working. I'll definitely want to hear from everybody in the comments how you would improve or change different trade ideas, or if there's any other brand new ones that we haven't thought of yet. Right now, it seems like it's unlikely that the White Sox will make a spring training move. We've heard Rick Hahn just recently say that this is our team. We're just got to figure out who's going to make opening day. But we're not really looking to bring any other outside talent in. Of course, a GM is going to say that, though. So anything is really still possible. But first, I asked all of you to comment on what your favorite spring training memory was. Sam had a really good one. Favorite spring training memory is every year when it ends and the regular season starts. Huzzah to that. I always do love the opportunity to see our younger players that we generally don't get a chance to see. So that is really exciting. And watching the position battles when we have them, that's a really fun experience, I think, as well. We get a glimpse into the future of the White Sox, and that's just an opportunity you don't have unless you happen to live in Charlotte or some other city that has a minor league team. I know I would always call in sick to school anytime the first White Sox game was even broadcast on the radio, just to be able to sit at home and listen to a baseball game, because back in the day, we didn't have DVR. Couldn't go online and replay a broadcast. So it was, you hear it live or you don't hear it at all. And that was a little bit of a spring tradition for me to, no matter what, at all costs, listen. And if I could watch, but usually just listen to the first spring training broadcast of the year. Ethan Erb, favorite memory is getting seats right behind home plate 3 years ago, back when he was 13. And he's going again this year. So, Ethan, definitely drop us a line when you go to your spring training game this year. Let us know how it was. If you have pictures to share them. Obviously, you'll get credit and a shout out. But yeah, I loved it. When I lived in Los Angeles, I would go most seasons. I would head out to Arizona to check out the White Sox at Camelback Ranch. I think maybe my favorite memory was heading out from LA to Arizona with a group of friends, White Sox fans. We saw a number of games. But on the drive, we were just in the middle of the desert, just no man's land. And from behind us, this big red, lifted, completely red, Angels stickers all over it, pickup truck comes and passes by us. And a very gruff looking guy just stared us down, because we obviously had White Sox stickers on our vehicle, and just gave us the good old one finger salute. I think he was still pretty angry about the AJ Przinsky drop third strike. But we got this out of it, so I'm okay with that. And finally, Michael mentions helping turn a Cubs fan into a White Sox fan, which is just really doing God's work. So this idea for you to suggest trades actually comes from when the St. Louis Cardinals picked up Nolan Arenado. And when that happened, I mean, obviously St. Louis picked up one of the best position players, the best fielder in all of baseball. And it looked like the Rockies might be in teardown mode, where all of their high-priced veterans might start getting sold off. And at that moment, the White Sox were in dire need of a left-handed bat, and you could argue that they still might be. So it seemed that Charlie Blackmon would be a really interesting fit on the south side. So I wanted you to come up with trade scenarios that we could maybe float to the front office of the White Sox, and maybe they would take it and run with it. I think the majority of you actually didn't want Charlie Blackmon on the team. Not that he was a bad fit, but just that we have enough pieces right now, and let's just work with what we have. That Connor, not worth trading for Blackmon. Cody Novak suggested maybe if Engel was included in a trade. Sam was a big Blackmon fan, but didn't necessarily think we should go for him. Didn't want to give up a lot of pieces in order to get somebody that might be on the tail end of their career. Straight up no thanks on Blackmon or Bauer, said Neil Baldwin. Ben Castaneda. Personally wouldn't trade for Blackmon because I love the farm system we built and don't want to see any of them go. I do also want to see how the platoon of Engel and Eaton does. Shy Sox Nation says it doesn't make sense to do anything at this point. Just need Vaughn to pull a Rober this year. No to Blackmon unless the Sox can somehow steal him. We've signed our older outfielder already without having to surrender a prospect. Don't need to take a chance on another at the cost that it might cause future regret. So whether it's Blackmon or somebody else, right now the White Sox are in a very interesting position where they have a lot of outfield prospects that don't have a lot of place to play. We also have a lot of catchers that are about major league ready. I would assume that at some point a trade will happen. Maybe it'll be a midseason trade for a pitcher or knock on wood, hopefully nobody ever gets injured, but if we need to replace somebody that gets injured, some of these minor leaguers end up getting shipped out to address a pressing, dire need. But as it stands, there's the risk that they'll just waste away and we won't end up getting anything out of them because they are very blocked and might not have a place to play on the major league team. Trades will be in the future, whether it's now, whether it's mid-season, or at the very latest during next season. The White Sox did really great things this offseason with the Lynn acquisition and the signing of Hendricks. However, we still have all of our trade pieces still in place that could be utilized to bring in a veteran presence. Brad Witt didn't make a trade suggestion, but would love to see Blackmon on the south side, batting number 2 in the lineup. What I wouldn't trade for him wouldn't be a whole lot due to his age of 34, but the next 2 years could be a gem for the White Sox. I could see a lineup of T.A., Blackmon, Moncada, Abreu, Jimenez, Grandal, Robert, Vaughn, Madrigal. I'm just drooling typing out that batting order. Damn. Hell yes. And again, that's a great reminder that we are operating from such a great position of strength and power. Let's take a quick look at Blackmon. And the comment has been made that, yes, he is 34 years old. So as a power hitter, he might be on the downward trend or approaching the back end of his career. However, he still has held up very well so far. If we combine 2019 and 20, as I do all the time, just to because 2020 is just too weirdly small of a sample size, accumulated 249 hits, batted .311 with a .903 on base plus slugging. Now, you have to obviously mention the Coors effect. He plays in Colorado, plays with the ball sails a lot more than everywhere else. But if you look at his on-base plus slugging plus, that factors in park conditions and tries to boil everybody down to find out what exactly league average is. And compared to league average, he is 119. For the statistic, the league average is 100. He's 119, which is good for 19% above average. Knocked out 38 homers and 54 doubles in that 199 games. In his career, he's been an all-star 4 times, Silver Slugger winner twice. For his entire career, he has an on-base plus slugging in the upper 800s. To, again, adjust for the fact that he's playing at Coors Field, his career on-base plus slugging plus is 116. To put some perspective on that, other players that have a career 116 is Ryan Zimmerman, Michael Brantley, and Adrian Beltre. Guys that are just a little bit behind him with a 115 on-base plus slugging plus is Starling Marte and Yasmani Grandal, who is just 1 percentage point better as a hitter overall. That would be Francisco Lindor at 117, and coming in at 118 for a career number is Paul Konerko. Taking a look at his career splits between home and away, his home runs are actually pretty close. 100 career home runs hit in Colorado, 78 on the road. Not that much different. However, when you look at the average, it's a huge difference. 347 to 263 on base plus slugging difference, 987 to 747. Huge difference. So he absolutely is helped out by the fact that he plays in Colorado. Now, the reason I am actually completely down for passing on him. At first, it looked like, oh, this guy's only around for 2 more years, and he's getting paid handsomely to do that. $21 million per year in 2021 and 2022. However, the thing that gives me pause is there's a player option for 2023 for $10 million, which doesn't sound like that much. But first off, if a player is going to execute that, that means they can't possibly get that on the open market anymore, and that's completely in the player's hands. Also, just based on plate appearance incentives, that $10 million player option could become $18 million. So I think it is the right thing to steer clear of trying to make a play for Charlie Blackmon here. I had you make comments about what you suggest a Charlie Blackmon trade should look like. Alexander Valadiva wanted to pick up Charlie Blackmon. In return, the Rockies would get Thompson and Collins, and he thinks Collins would get a big ego boost from playing full-time in Colorado. Yeah, so I took a look at this, and so first off, the Thompson that Alex talks about is Matthew Thompson. He's a second rounder of ours. He's currently playing in rookie ball. The scouting report has him eventually peaking out at a mid-rotation, maybe number 3 starter. Fangraphs puts his future value at a rating of 40. MLB ranked him as our number 7 prospect last year. They have not come out with a new ranking yet this year, unfortunately. I'm looking forward to that. Should happen fairly soon, maybe in the next month. Fangraphs lists him as our number 10 prospect right now. Even last year, he was on our 60-player pool that played in Schaumburg, in case they needed a last-minute fill-in. To be honest with you, I think Thompson is maybe a little bit too highly ranked of a prospect. Theoretically, if Colorado was trying to get rid of Blackmon, they would be looking for a salary dump scenario, and maybe they wouldn't be expecting that much back. I do think starting with Collins is a really good place because I took a look in their farm system. They have one catcher on their top 30 list, and he's very highly ranked, actually. He's number 4, but he's only 19 years old right now, so he's still a long way from the major leagues. So Starting with a very strong catcher like Zach Collins is a great place to start. I think I would probably try to go much lower on the starting pitching side unless Colorado is willing to throw in some money. The next suggestion comes from Sam V, who is all for spending the money but doesn't want to give up too much and is afraid we'd give up Cespedes. And I also would not give up Cespedes for Charlie Blackmon. His offer is Yolbert Sanchez, Lenyn Sosa, Luis Macias, and a pick for Blackmon. So starting with the last element there, you cannot trade a draft pick in baseball unless it's a competitive balance pick. Sadly, for the White Sox, competitive balance picks only go to small market teams, so the White Sox would never have a competitive balance pick that we'd be able to trade away unless we somehow acquired one from a small market team. So there'd be a lot of dominoes that would have to fall for that to happen. What we could trade would be international bonus pool money, which I also would not do right now because the Sox are the leading candidate to get Oscar Colas, who is currently the #1 ranked international free agent out of Cuba. But with the pandemic, all of the international signings got kind of thrown out of whack. So we will have to wait till next January, I believe, to sign him. But still, if we can keep him unsigned and available, I know the belief is that the Sox are in the lead to pick up Oscar Colas. Again, if we can get another very, very highly ranked international signee in Oscar Colas, yes, that's better than a lot of other things we could do. And just going over his other options that he would be open to trading away. I'm actually game for most of these because they are lower level minor leaguers, even though they might be ranked pretty well with us. But a lot can happen between rookie ball or single A in the major leagues. Yolbert Sanchez is a shortstop in rookie ball. Fangraphs and MLB.com has him ranked as our number 18 overall prospect. Lenyn Sosa is a second baseman in A ball. Future value also of 40. Fangraphs has him ranked at number 20, MLB number 24. He was a signee out of Venezuela. Luis Macias is an outfielder in rookie ball currently. His future value projection is a 35 or better. He is ranked number 33 via Fangraphs and 27 via MLB.com. He was an international signee out of the Dominican in 2017. So this is a 3-for-1 swap. A piece that I would always include if a Charlie Blackmon, we're just playing a video game here, basically. We're being virtual GMs. If we were to make a trade for Charlie Blackmon, I would include Leary Garcia in that trade. For one, because we need to open up a 40-man roster spot. And two, in these scenarios, we are not taking financial help from Colorado. Trading away Garcia's $3.5 million salary would help mitigate that a tiny bit. Plus, then Colorado would get their super utility guy that they could use anywhere on the diamond. Dylan Barnes is going to keep us pretty busy because he's got 3 pretty interesting trade scenarios lined up. Andrew Dahlquist, Jimmy Lambert, Sebi Zavala, and cash for Charlie Blackmon. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but my guess is that he would trade those prospects for Blackmon and cash because I don't think we would be sending cash to Colorado also in that deal. Dahlquist is a pitcher in rookie ball right now, future value of 40. Fangraphs has him listed as number 11 in our system, while MLB has him at number 10. He was a third rounder signed for a $2 million signing bonus. Jimmy Lambert is another pitcher in our system. He's made his major league debut already. His future value is a 35 plus. Fangraphs has him listed at number 29. MLB has him listed at number 14. And of course, Sebi Zavala, dealing from our catching depth. His future value is listed at 40. Fangraphs has him listed at our 21st best prospect and MLB at number 22. Now, I think this trade would get the job done. I don't know if I would want to trade Lambert and Dahlquist. Maybe not 2 pitchers. Definitely add Garcia to the mix. And we do have such depth when it comes to Sheets, Adolfo, Rutherford, Gonzalez, that we still aren't pulling from. So maybe I would take out one of those 2 pitchers, add in Garcia, and add in one of those other outfield prospects. And if the Rockies would want more prospect capital from us, they would have to kick in some serious money. His next trade I like a lot. It makes sense for both teams, which of course you always have to think about where's the other team coming from, what are their wants and needs right now. He's open for trading Jake Berger and Jonathan Stever for David Price. Right now the Dodgers have a rotation of Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, and of course they just picked up Trevor Bauer, and they've got Julio Urias, who looked really dominant against the White Sox a couple days ago, Tony Gonsolin, and Dustin May. Those 3 players duking it out for the last 2 spots. David Price is their highest paid player, and he does not have a spot in the rotation anymore. Right now, the LA Dodgers, calculating the competitive balance tax, they have a hit of $259 million. Obviously, they were going to go well over the luxury tax threshold, which is $210 million, but there's an additional penalty if you break $250 million. And of course, they're $9.3 million over that. They have publicly said that they don't need to get below that level, but it really would make a lot of sense. Not only would it mean that they're paying less in luxury tax penalties. But right now, their draft pick order, they would fall 10 spots. So even though they're publicly saying they don't care if they're this high, chances are they would prefer to get underneath that. David Price signed a huge deal back in the day with Boston that was eventually traded over to the Dodgers. He actually has not yet played for the Dodgers in a major league game because that trade happened before the 2020 season, and then he opted out of the year. So his actual amount of money being paid for the next 2 years are $32 million per year. His luxury tax hit is $31 million based on the structure of his contract. The Red Sox are paying $16 million of it. So trading David Price away without picking up any of his salary would get him safely under that $250 million tax threshold, which would also allow them to maybe make a mid-season acquisition trade if they do need to add on in some other point during the season. And Dylan has the White Sox trading Jake Burger and Jonathan Stiever to be able to do so. Burger, of course, as we know, is a first-round draft pick from a few years ago that's been slowed down by Achilles injuries. He still has high upside. If he can stay healthy, he would have very high upside. Jonathan Stiever is a pretty well-regarded prospect, maybe too high, honestly, to be trading away. Again, maybe I'm just shielding him a little bit too much. He's a starter. He played for us a little bit last year. Fangraphs has him ranked 12, and MLB has him ranked number 6th. I don't know. I'll let you guys chime in. What would it take to get David Price? I think the White Sox shouldn't give up very much to be able to get David Price because the Dodgers are the ones in the position of need. They theoretically would need to move him and just get that money off the books. Lastly, and I won't spend too much time on this, is Zach Birdie and Luis Gonzalez for Franmil Reyes. So the first reason this wouldn't happen is because, well, they'd be trading with Cleveland. Interdivision trades happen, but just not very much. The Sox with Zach Birdie, he is, I believe, our 6th ranked player. He's pretty high up on the list. Gonzalez is another one of these guys, and Gonzalez is definitely a depth type guy that will be traded in time. Birdie might have a pretty high ceiling. I'm not super high on Reyes. I know his power numbers are unbelievable. He's a right-handed bat. He's still young. Over the last 2 seasons, he played in 209 games. So-so, 257 batting average, but 814 on-base plus slugging, 113 on-base plus slugging plus, with 46 home runs. And the other thing that would make him very hard to pry away from Cleveland is that he's still in his pre-arbitration years. So this year, 2021, he will be making about the league minimum and then has 3 more years of control after that. So I think Cleveland would really demand a lot more than the White Sox would want to give up. JG23 says, a trade I can see that the deadline is Raylo, depending on how he performs, Stiever, Adolfo, or Rutherford, and Leary for Winker of the Reds or Verlander of the Astros, depending on the need. First off, Justin Verlander will be missing the entire season. He had Tommy John surgery at the end of last year, so he'll be out this year in full. Winker of the Reds, this is an interesting name to bring up. He's controllable for 3 more years, all through arbitration. He's making $3.1 million this year. He's a left-handed outfield bat. So again, a guy who might have a good fit with the White Sox. Over the last 2 years, covering 167 games, he batted .265 with a .682 on-base plus slugging, good for a .120 on-base plus slugging plus, 28 homers, 24 doubles. I think the Reds would need to be blown away. We see that they have not traded Sonny Gray, even though it seems that the Reds will not be competitive this year. They are not trading away their stars yet. The NL Central is going to be a toss-up to some degree, and the Reds might be in it all the way to the end. We shall see. The Reds might end up being in buy mode instead of sell mode. They've got some high-priced guys in Joey Votto, Nick Castellanos, Mike Moustakas, and of course Sonny Gray as well. With Joey Votto under contract for the next 3 years and 3 more years of team control over Jesse Winker, they might prioritize winning at least some point in the next 3 years, which would make Winker tougher to get. But anything's possible, and that is a really good trade proposal, especially if Lopez does bounce back and it turns out he's got some qualities still left in him. And Ross 0527 says trade Collins for Marquez plus if we can. Collins alone is definitely not going to do it for Marquez. I would love to see Marquez on the White Sox team. I think he's somebody that the White Sox should target. You might feel like the White Sox have a very full rotation as it is. However, Lance Lynn is only signed for this year. There's going to be an opening for next year. Marquez, however, is signed through 2023, and there's a club option on the year 2024. He will be making $7.5 million this year, 11 million in 2022, then 15 million. There is a $1 million bonus if he does get traded, so he'll be making a little bit more any year he does get traded. Yeah, German Marquez. So we are back in Colorado trying to pick at the bones of what's left of the Rockies team. Yeah, I would really, really like to see that happen. Now, several months ago, we did a video on what the trade package would have looked like had the White Sox gone after Blake Snell. And I think it's going to be very similar to what it would take to get German Marquez. He's not quite as established as Snell, and of course Snell also has postseason experience. The difference, though, is Marquez is signed to a really affordable contract, whereas Snell, he's worth it, but he's getting paid a lot more than Marquez is. So I think those things balance out a little bit, and we might go back to the same exact trade proposal. And one of the options I came up with in that previous video, which I'll link to at the end if you haven't seen it, is it's going to be a tough one, but it is headlined around Michael Kopech. Future star possibly, but not for sure. A big trade is hard to do because to get something good, you have to give up something good. And to get 3 years of a really good pitcher who's succeeding in Colorado, let's not understate that at all. From the catching side, Zach Collins and Seby Zavala, and then maybe one of Blake Rutherford or Micah Rodolfo. That's a lot of talent to give up, but we'd be getting a lot of talent back. Trades are never easy, and they really are usually not fun either, unless you're playing a video game, and then they're a blast because it doesn't really matter. I'll be back in just a couple days to give spring training update number 2. I will be doing a weekly middle of the week check-in on what's going on in the world of spring training. Leave comments commenting on these trade proposals. I think we're probably going to be pretty set right now, but I like that we have the flexibility to make some really big moves mid-season if we need to, and hopefully we don't need to. I'll see you in just a couple days, so play ball and go Sox.